Okay, so guys, welcome to my class. Okay, maths class. Teacher Susan. I have to reduce it. So I can't see. Okay, all right. So, Maths Energizer. Okay, we're going to do Maths Energizer using emoji check-in. Okay, so what is emoji check-in? Usually in the, I think emoji is very famous among your generation, Alpha generation. Okay, so what's going to happen now? I'm going to give you a link and I need you to check in your emoji on the link. Okay, so back to your chat. Okay, so can you all look at your chat box? Saya cuba copy balik benda tu. Okay, can you click on the link? Okay, look at the chat. Dekat chat teacher ada bagi satu link. This is emoji check-in because we always like to use emoji to express our feelings. Okay, in the social media. Okay, sometimes in the chat. Okay, so this is also a way for me to check in on your emoji, on your feelings today. Okay, so I'll go to the page. Nah, I see this connection inside that way. In the pen, if you can see the pen. The cable. Huh? Yeah. Okay, wait a class. I'll just display. Okay, so 15, only 15 of you have responded. Only 15 of you have responded. Okay, so I'll just show the responses full screen. Okay. Okay, good. I can see many of you have responded as smiley, big smile on your face. Okay, some of you are feeling so low. Okay, lucky none of you look confused here. Okay.
Yet.
Okay. No, you won't be confused. Today's lesson is quite easy. Okay. However, okay, depends to your individual approach on the topic. Okay, good. Okay, so can we stop? Oh no, we still having people putting in their poll. Okay, let me just see how many of y'all. Okay, so show responses. So we already have. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, guys, we'll stop the poll for today. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm glad that many of you have given me some good impressions, yeah, good emojis. Okay, cool. Okay, being cool and being happy and smiley. Okay, and some are feeling loved. Okay, so that's so sweet. Okay, lucky the negative one we have a few lah. Maybe one or two of you are still feeling maybe gloomy today morning. Still too early, right? Okay, so let's continue. Okay, back to my Jamboard. Okay, so we have done our maths energizer, emoji check-in. So let's move on. Okay, so guys, this was your homework last week. Okay, so in your homework last week, okay, and last night at about 11:30 when I checked, only 27 of you turned in. Okay, out of, as I told you, 30, you are supposed to be 42. So how many we have here? Oh, we have more than 40. Oh, 43 orang dekat sini. Okay, however, I know some of you are still deciding on the class that you are going to be on. Okay, so apa-apa pun nanti kalau you dah tak ada dalam kelas ni, you may leave Google Classroom 4PC dan join yang kelas you lah. Okay, so far I hope you all stay, but if you don't stay, it's up to your decision. Okay, let's move on. Sorry. Jawapan, this is the answer, yeah, guys. It's very easy to find the maximum point at x, okay? So actually there is also an easier way to find the maximum or the axis of symmetry, okay? So dia adalah menggunakan rumus ni, okay? So rumus ni x is equivalent to, so x is the axis symmetry. So if you look at all this question given here, wait guys, I actually couldn't find the cable for my drawing pad, but however, I'll try to. Okay, if you look at this, right, guys, the axis of symmetry is where you can find the vertex. So the vertex is the maximum or the minimum point. So this is the vertex. This is the vertex. This is the vertex, and this is the vertex. So you just have to take a ruler and just draw a straight line going through the vertex. Okay, and the line that go through the vertex tells you which is the axis of symmetry. So in this case, for 3A, 4 is the axis symmetry. Okay, so this point, because for this question, you are given a graph. So you have to read from the graph. So when you read the from the graph, you will realize that this point, the vertex, this is a minimum. This is a smiley face, right? So the minimum point actually sits on 15, negative 15, yeah? Okay, so there will be 4, negative 15. This is how where it sits, okay? 4, negative 15. Okay, let's look at question B. Same thing, guys. Look for the vertex. Draw a straight line. Okay, that was not straight. Okay, draw a straight line. Okay, so once you already draw a straight line, this will be the axis of symmetry. So line yang straight line ni yang membahagikan this part into two, this is known as the axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry ni dia sebenarnya duduk kat nombor 3 ya, number 3. Okay, so once you already have that, you have to find the value of the set face. This is a set face. So set face gives you a maximum point. So the maximum point here will be 13.5. Okay, so 3 is the value of x. Meanwhile, y is 13.5. So the answers are given here. This is answer from Afika. Yeah? So I just screenshot Afika's answer. Okay. So let's look at the next one. Question C, same thing, guys. Semuanya sama. Okay, so where does it crosses on axis? X-axis. So on x-axis, it crosses at negative 2. Okay, all right. So then you have to find where does it cross on y-axis. Okay, so on y-axis, it crosses at 4. So that is the reason why the coordinate of this set face, which gives you a maximum point, is negative 2, 4. Okay, so same thing goes here. Okay, ni pun sama aja. Draw a straight line and then find where does it cross on the y-axis. So the answer is minimum point 2, negative 2, and the value of x or axis of symmetry is is 2. Okay, understand? So this is one method where you can use the formula, okay, to find the axis of symmetry. So bila dah jumpa axis of symmetry, you can automatically find the value of the minimum point. Okay, alright, class. Okay, so this example I will show you shortly. Macam mana nak guna rumus, yes. Sebab in your syllabus this year, they actually didn't teach you on how to use the formula. Okay, but however, teacher bagi you as an extra knowledge, yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So a recap of what we have learned for the past 2 weeks, yeah. Okay, so we already had 2 classes, so this is our 3rd class. Okay, so quadratic function, you have learned about quadratic function. So y, okay, so this is what you have learned. Y is equivalent to ax square plus bx plus c. Okay, so the graph of quadratic equation, bentuk dia, if you still remember, is U-shape and also called as parabola. Okay, all right. The vertex is the highest or lowest point. I told you about the vertex, and vertex is also called the turning point. Okay, sebab dia adalah tempat di mana dia berhenti to make a turn. Okay, U-turn kan? You know how a U-turn is, right? So of course, when you're making a U-turn, you need to have a point where you stop first. Okay, all right. So that point where you stop is the vertex, and the vertex is the one which tells you whether it's a maximum or a minimum point. Okay, so as you know, A positive. If A is positive, automatically you get a smiley face, okay, or a parabola opens upward, and the vertex for the smiley face is minimum point. Okay, if it is a negative, okay, the parabola opens downward ataupun kita kata sad face, and the vertex is the maximum point. Ni yang what we have learned last week. Okay, and then we also learn about maximum and minimum point. The same thing, guys. You just look at this. This is A. So here A is positive and here A is negative. So you just remember positive, you get smiley. When it's negative, you get a sad face. Okay, so when it is a smiley face, you will have a minimum point. Meanwhile, when it is a sad face, you will have a maximum point. Okay, so let's move on. And same thing goes to axis of symmetry. So you also learn about axis of symmetry. Okay, so as I told you, axis of symmetry is a line that splits the parabola in half. Okay, so the axis of symmetry always goes through the vertex. Ni yang penting. The axis of symmetry is always going through the vertex. So ini adalah graph of a positive A. So the A is A is more than 0. Okay, so you get a smiley face. Okay, and the vertex is going through the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is going through the vertex. Ni vertex dia. So vertex dekat sini minimum, yang ni adalah maximum. Okay, so done. Okay, so this is contoh yang teacher nak tunjukkan. Okay, using the formula. Okay, I told you about a formula, right? So when you have an example, okay, you don't have a graph. Okay, so if the question only gives you the equation without a graph, okay, so you have an equation. You have an equation without a graph. So when you have an equation without a graph, so in this case, okay, there's a lot of things that you can imagine on the graph. This is A. This is the value of A. This is A, this is B, and this is C. So if you look at A is positive, so it can prove to you that this is how the graph look like. Okay, but the problem is you wouldn't know which is the vertex. Okay, so how to find the axis of symmetry? So to find the axis of symmetry, kita akan guna rumus ni ya. Okay, so this is the formula that we use. So negative B. So what is the value of B? B is equivalent to negative 4, kan? So negative multiply negative 4, you get positive 4. Okay, then you have 2. Multiply with A. What is A? A is 2. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 divided by 4 gives you 1. Okay, so this is the vertex. Okay, awak dah jumpa dah. Okay, axis of symmetry dah jumpa. Okay, once you find the axis of symmetry without a graph, ya, sekarang ni kita jumpa, we managed to find the axis of symmetry without a graph. So that means kita dah tahu dia crosses. Okay, we are not sure exactly how the graph will be, but we know that it crosses axis X dekat 1. Okay, so once you know this, you can find the vertex of the graph given. Okay, so macam mana nak cari? So you substitute the value of X to find the value of Y from the vertex. So ambil daripada mana? Ganti daripada the equation itself. So you take the equation, okay, tempat-tempat yang ada X ni semua you ganti with 1. Okay, so once you ganti everything with 1, substitute everything with 1, you will get negative 3. So negative 3 is the point where it will actually crosses or I mean like it will be aligned with the y-axis. So that means the vertex adalah 1, negative 3. Okay class, so we will look into this more maybe in the last part of this chapter when we learn on how to sketch a graph. Okay, so ini adalah extra knowledge. This is not in your textbook. However, I just share the knowledge. You maybe can take note. Guys, remember whatever that I'm doing here, you may take note. Okay. Okay. Guys, just give me a moment. Let me just find. Okay, yeah, sorry, you got it. It was inside the bag. I thought I missed it in the school. Okay. Okay, back. Yeah, back with our drawing pad. Okay, so far any questions, guys?
No.
No, laju sangat ke, teacher? Okay, you understand?
No.
No, because most of the things that I told you was what we had learned previously. Okay, so kejap lagi we will look at what we are going to learn today. Okay, alright, back to our presentation. Okay, so the topic for today. Okay, so today we are actually looking at to learn on what are the effects of changing the value of A, B, and C. So what are the effects of the changing of the value of A, B, and C on the graph of quadratic function? Okay, so guys, if you have two devices, kalau you ada dua device, you may scan the barcode. Okay, this barcode are given in your textbook as well. Okay, however, kalau tak ada, it's okay. Okay, kalau tak ada, it's okay. I will open the page for you. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to investigate. So we are going to do an exploration activity. So we are going to investigate and make generalization of the effects of changing the values of A, B, and C on graphs of quadratic function. Okay, so kita nak tengok what happened when A is 2. What happened when A is actually 5? Okay, does anything change when A is negative? Does anything change when A is positive? Does anything change when A is getting bigger? That means A is growing, that means, or increasing. Or does anything happen when A decreases? Okay, so this is first activity, mind stimulation 7. Okay, I will show you the graph. So once I've showed you the graph, what I want you to do is I want you to discuss. Okay, so you tak ada I will let you to discuss the effect of changing the values of A to the graph of quadratic function. Okay, so discuss dalam group secara maya lah. Okay, so I'm not going to put you in separate group. We'll be in one big group. So in the big group, you'll be doing the discussion. Okay, all right. So let me just open the page first, and then I'll share the screen again. Okay, guys, can you see the screen? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, okay. I'm using GeoGebra to do this. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, get a full view first. Okay, so guys, this is a graph. Okay, so if you look at this graph, it has a smiling face. Okay, kalau ada smiling face, Okay, can somebody tell me, is the value of A negative or is the value of A positive?
Positive.
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 Positive. Okay, good. All right. So when it is positive, so just look at this, yeah. So what is the vertex, guys? What is the vertex?
0.
0, 0. So vertex is the point. So you can nyatakan. So this point, okay. Wait, let me just show you the point. So this point A is the minimum point and it's equivalent to 0, 0. So x is 0 and y is also 0. Okay. So I'm going to go back. Okay, so look at this ya. Guys, sebelum tu kan, you tengok ni teacher bagi you nampak ni pun So the formula for this graph is actually equivalent to fx equivalent to 0.2x square. Okay, so look at what happens to the graph. The value of A is increasing. The value of A is increasing. So look back at this. It started at 0.2. So the value of A was 0.2. And slowly the value was changing to 1, 2, and till it becomes 10. So what actually happened in this? Can somebody explain to me? What's your...
When the value A is smaller, the wider curve will happen.
Okay, good. I think I heard two keyword on there. Who was that actually?
Nurin.
Nurin. Oh, Nurin, you are very active today. Okay, that means you can get all the extra points. Okay. She mentioned on when the value of A is increasing, then she mentioned something on wider, right? Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts on that, guys? Takkan Nurin seorang je dalam kelas ya? What about the rest? Just unmute yourself, guys, and let me know. I'll show you again. Okay. As the value of A is increasing, okay, what happened to the curve? What happened to the curve? What happened to the shape of the graph?
Gets narrower.
It changes.
Mikhail?
Yeah. Gets more narrow. Yeah.
Yes, it gets more narrower. Okay, that's also a keyword on that. So that means when the value of A is decreasing, so now you look at this, guys. Okay, so now the value of A is decreasing. From 10, it's becoming more smaller and smaller. So when it becomes smaller, so when the value of A is less, so what happened? It becomes wide. Okay, it becomes wider. Meanwhile, when the value of A is increasing, when the value of the A increasing, it becomes narrower. That means it is getting closer to x-axis, y-axis. Okay, so but tadi dia become far away from y-axis. So ni y-axis kan. So it becomes far away from y-axis. Tapi bila dia the value of A is increasing, it becomes closer to y-axis. Okay, so this is what you should have seen lah. Okay, so however, let's go back to our Jamboard. Okay, so let's look at the explanation given. Okay, so the value of A actually determines the shape of the graph. Okay, so if you look how sharp is the graph or how wide is the graph, so that conclude on the shape of graph. So what does A affects? Okay, so A affects on the shape of the graph. So let's look at these two examples here. For the graph of quadratic function, fx equivalent to ax squared plus bx plus c, the smaller the value of A, okay, so remember this, the smaller the value of A, the wider the curve shape. Okay, remember guys, smaller the value of A, the wider the curved shape. Okay, so the same thing goes, okay, the same thing goes if it was a negative A. So even though it was a negative A pun, dia punya aspect is still the same. So once the value, okay, so in this case, right, slightly different here. Okay, you just have to tengok in green. So the green is for A1, the value of A1, and the purple is the value for A2. Okay, so if A1 is smaller than A2. So remember, kalau nilai dia semakin besar, okay, the graph becomes narrower. It becomes close to the y-axis, to the vertical axis. Okay, alright. Bila you terbalikkan, you tengok tangan teacher kan, bila you terbalikkan, so yang ni yang y semakin membesar, so bila y semakin, so ni y, bila dia semakin membesar, it becomes closer. Okay, so bila kita terbalikkan kan, saya tak boleh terbalikkan tangan saya, but what I want to say, when it is in this way, okay, so now A is less than, is still less than A2, so the same thing goes guys, okay. Okay, so let's move on to mind stimulation A. Okay, so now we have looked at A. What happens kalau A berubah? Now we are going to look at what happens when B changes. Okay, what does B, apa orang kata, what is the effect of B? Who does B influence? Okay, so A influences on the shape of the graph, whether the graph gets wider or the graph gets wider or narrower. Okay, so now let's look at the effect of B on graphs of quadratic function. Okay, so let's go back to GeoGebra again. Okay, here we go. We have another graph. Okay, so the value given for the y and D changes because the value of B changes. There's nothing that happened on A. A is still the same. So here the given value for A is 1. Okay, only B has a fluctuating value. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm just going to make this big. Okay, boleh nampak Teacher start Okay, so now the value of B is from -5 So the value of B is -5. So I want you to look at the green line and also the blue line. Tengok dua-dua Okay, I'll start from now. So the value of B is increasing from negative number, it becoming to positive number, and look at what happens when B is 0. Okay, so teacher. So what happens when B is 0? Okay. So what can you tell about this, guys? So I'll just do a fast one now. There's a very significant change when B is 0. And then B is now slightly moving from. So this, what happened here? B have actually moved from negative to positive number. That means it have grown bigger. Okay, what can you say on this, guys? Anyone? Anybody can respond on
When
this.
the B is a positive number, the line is a negative number.
The vertex. No, you mean the axis of symmetry is
yeah, sorry, the axis of symmetry.
Okay, axis of symmetry sits on a negative x. Okay, other than that,
when the B is negative, then the line positive.
okay, all right. So other than that, so B was negative, so it was here. So it was the axis of symmetry was positive. So when B was positive, it was axis of symmetry tu adalah negative. Okay, maybe. Okay, other than that, guys. Other than that, anyone else?
The line is in a what they call it, a sad face shape, teacher. That's another thing I noticed.
Oh, what? No, other than that, okay, wait. Naiman, B determine the location axis of, okay, B determine the location of axis, which is the axis of symmetry. Okay, good try. Okay, another thing, right, guys? Why when it is b equivalent to 0, right? Did you see when b was equivalent to 0, what happens to the maximum or the minimum point? Or the minimum point?
Changing
Ada
place.
zero.
Ya,
Adalah.
perasan tak dia duduk dekat origin dia. Okay, so the maximum, minimum point is at the origin. Okay, okay, when we have no b. So when you have no b, the axis of symmetry is the y-axis. Okay, so let's look at the discussion. Thank you for giving me some feedback. Okay, thank you, Mikhail. I think I even heard Christina, right, tadi?
Fatihah teacher, Fatihah.
Fatihah, oh okay, Fatihah and Nurin, and then Naiman, sebab Naiman share dalam chat ya. So dalam chat pun you can use it, guys. Don't be very passive. Okay, you can even speak to me from your chat. Okay, so let me just stop sharing first. Where can I? Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the discussion from the textbook. Okay, so for the values of b determines the position of axis of symmetry. Okay, so let's look at how you can really be sure of the position. I think some of your friends have already given you the clues just now. Okay, so when b was positive, okay, the axis of symmetry was on the negative side of it, was on over the negative side. Okay, so when b was negative, okay, so the axis of symmetry was positive. Okay, so guys, tengok ni if a is greater than 0, so if a is greater than 0, it means a is positive, you will get all the smiley graph. Okay, so on the smiley graph, right, guys, okay, if you have the value of b greater than 0, the axis of symmetry lies on the left of, okay, so left of y-axis. Okay, so when b is less than 0 or b is negative, it lies on the right of the y-axis. Okay, and when b is equivalent to 0, tadi when b is equivalent to 0, the axis of symmetry is the y-axis. So dia akan berhenti dekat tengah-tengah ni. Dekat mana? Dekat y-axis. Okay, so again, if the value of b is positive, it's on the right. Okay, when the value of b is positive, it's on the left. Okay, and when the value of b is negative, it's on the right. Okay, and when it is 0, it's exactly in the middle. Okay, so remember that. Okay, next, what happens if it is the other way graph? Okay, when you have a is equivalent to negative, so when a is negative, you will get a set face graph. Okay, and a set face graph tells you that you have a maximum point. So benda ni kita tengok. Okay, so when b is greater than 0, okay, b is greater than 0, it means the value of b is positive. Okay, untuk yang ni, right, guys, it will be the opposite way around. Okay, so what happened when the a is negative? Okay, so sekarang a is negative. Okay, so b is positive. So when a is negative and b is positive, dia masih berada in the right side of the y-axis. Okay, dia opposite dengan yang ni ya. Kenapa dia opposite? Because the a value is negative. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Okay, so now in this case, now a is also negative, b is also negative. So when a is negative and b is also negative, this time it will still be on the left of the y-axis. Okay, and the last one, when b is equivalent to 0. Okay, so b equal to 0, dia masih akan berada on y-axis. Okay, so these are a few things that you have to remember. Remember, when they are positive, when with the value of positive a and with the value of negative a, there is a slight difference on the axis of symmetry. Okay, so you can digest these two graphs here. Okay, these two scenarios, not two graphs, two scenarios. Okay, let's move on. Okay, mind stimulation 9. Okay, guys, were you seeing my screen? Alamak, I tak tunjuk Kenapa tak cakap?
Kita dengar je cakap tadi.
Tapi dengar ni, this is what I was talking to you guys. Sorry. Okay. All right. So this is also from your textbook. So please, you want me to explain again?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. All right. So again, so below the value of A. Okay. So in this case, right, the value of A here, use a different color pen. Okay. The value of A here is positive. So when the value of A here is positive, okay. So what happens to B? So when A positive, B is positive. So the axis symmetry will be on the left of y-axis, only left of y-axis. Okay, so left means axis of symmetry 2 is negative numbers. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. A is still positive. Okay, but now B is negative. So when B is negative or less than 0, it tells you that the axis of symmetry ini berada on the right of the y-axis. Okay, means axis of symmetry is positive number. Okay, axis of symmetry becomes a positive number. Okay, untuk what happen when A is positive, but B is equivalent to 0. So when B is equivalent to 0, okay, the axis of symmetry is also on, yeah, it's on the y-axis. It's on the y-axis. Okay, so it will be on the y-axis. It can be anywhere on the y-axis. Okay, all right. So let's look at the second example. So in the second example, it's slightly different than the first scenario. Okay, because now the value of A is less than 0. So less than 0 means the value of A is negative. Okay, so when the value of A is negative and the value of B is positive, what happened? It is still on the right side of the y-axis. Okay, kalau right side of the y-axis, it means axis of symmetry dia pun positif. Ini opposite dengan tadi ya. Okay, tadi dia kata negative, but in this case, the axis of symmetry is still positive. Okay, kenapa? Because the value of A is negative. Okay, so the same thing goes here. The value of A is negative, the value of B is negative, so it goes to the left of the axis of symmetry, which makes the axis of symmetry as also negative. Okay, axis of symmetry will also be negative. Okay, so and for B, right, guys, for the next one, B is equivalent to 0. Okay, so when B is equivalent to 0, it still sits on the y-axis. Okay, guys. Okay, that it still sits on the y-axis. There's no changes on that. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to look at the third simulation. So in the third simulation, kita dah tengok A. A determines the shape of graph. B determines the position of axis of symmetry. Okay, what does C does? Okay, so we are going to identify what C does to the graph. Okay, so yang ni ya, teacher show you terus. I see some of you already leaving the section. Yeah, I'll take the attendance at the end of the section. So don't leave the section before I take your attendance. Yeah. Okay, so kita tengok ni ya. So this is what happens when C changes. Okay, so let's look at the graph. Okay, now C is 0. So when C is 0, okay, C is 0. Wow, this is also 0. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay, we'll start from -6. Where is the graph? Wait, guys, I'll just make the graph a bit smaller so that we can see the line. Okay, so you can see the line here, right? Okay, so when C is -6, can you see this? The graph actually crosses on Y, which is -6. Okay. Look at this. Look at the changes of the y-axis. Okay, so what can you tell about this graph now, guys? What happens when the C changes?
A.
What happens when the C changes? Okay, Nur Hazira. C determine the position of the y-intercept. Very good. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else with a different...
C is y-intercept.
Okay, that's good. C is y-intercept. Okay, so we conclude dekat sana. Let's go back. Okay, go back to our discussion. Okay, so true enough, guys. The value of C determines the position of the y-intercept. So yang benda ni you dah tahu last year, Last year when you learn about graph of function, we already know that the value of C determines the position of the y-intercept. Okay, so when the value of A is less than 0, okay, it means it's a negative graph. You can see that the value of C, macam ni lah contoh, this is what we can see. Okay. So C is the y-intercept, that's it. Okay, so this is when A is greater than 0. Okay, so it doesn't matter what is A and B, but then the value of C itu penting. Okay, alright, so let's move on. Okay, now we look at example. We are almost to the end, yeah, guys. So just maybe another 10 minutes, I guess. Okay, so let's look at this example. So the quadratic function f(x) x square minus 3x plus c passes through a point A as given below. So calculate the value of c for each of the following cases. Okay, ni senang saja ya. Okay, so dia dah kata passes through a point. So when it passes through a point, that means let me just change my pen. Okay, so we just take this f(x) is equivalent to x square minus 3x plus c. Okay, so calculate the value of c. So now given value for a is 0, 4, it means a is the value of x and 4 is the value of y. So let's do this. So what's the value of x just now? 0 square minus 3 multiply 0 plus c. What was the value of y? Fx is y, ya. Jangan lupa tu. Jangan teacher can't see y. Fx is equivalent to y. So they are the same. So y is 4. Okay. So if you see this 0 and this is 0, so c is equivalent to 4. Okay tak? Faham tak? Senang je, dia menggantikan sahaja. You dah belajar ni semasa di form 3 sebenarnya. Okay, you just have to ganti saja. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we look at question B. Okay, so same thing goes here. Fx again, x square again, 3x again, plus c again. So a is negative 1, 3. So this is the value of x and this is the value of y. Okay, so y is equivalent to 3. Okay, lepas tu x is equivalent to negative 1. Ganti je. Okay, so 3 negative 1 square is 1 minus 3 plus 1. Okay, so I just change this side so that it's better to see. Okay, so the value of c is going to be equivalent to 5. Okay, class? Okay, so this is how you find the value for c. Okay, let's move on. So example 3, the diagram shows two graphs of quadratic function. So you have y, this is y equal to fx and gx, okay? So drawn on the same axis, state the range of the values of p. Okay, so you have to determine what is the values of p. So what are the range for p, guys? So sini you boleh nampak the value. So what yang ni, what it proves here is, guys, very simple ya. Jangan fikir, Allah teacher, where do I look for the value of p? Okay, look at this graph which is smaller ni, or narrower ni. The value of A is equivalent to 3 dekat sini. Meanwhile, what happened to the value of yang gx ni, the yang p ni? So it is wider. Okay, kalau A is wider, P is wider, what does it prove? Which value is greater? Okay, so is P greater than 3 or is P less than 3? Anyone? Any suggestion? Faham kan, guys? Okay, ni 3. Ini A ni sama dengan 3. Kalau A sama dengan 3, kalau A sama dengan 5, dia akan masuk ke dalam kan? Dia akan masuk lagi closer sebab semakin besar value of A, yes, Farhan and Adam, it becomes lesser. So it becomes less than 3. So that means the value of P will be less than 3. Okay, when you say less than 3, can it be negative? Can it be equivalent to negative 1? Can it be yes or no? Tolong jawab.
No.
No, yes, it cannot be less than negative 1 sebab kalau dia jadi less than negative 1, automatically graph tu akan menjadi terbalik. So the range of P, this is the range of P, okay? P will be less than 3, okay? Or less than 0. Okay, so that means the value of P yang possible is either 1 or 2. Itu saja. Okay, so explain. So you have to explain in sense of the narrower, okay, wider. So I'll just share the answer with you. I hope I've explained enough. Okay, let me share the answer. Just give me a moment, yeah, class, while I share the answer. Okay, this is how your answer should look like. Okay. Okay, so this is the solution for it. Okay, so you have to explain in the sense of the wider and narrower and the value of A. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. Okay, next page. Okay, this is the last part. Okay, we are going to learn on how to form a quadratic equation based on a situation. You have done this before, guys. Pernah buat. So our teacher just go through sahaja lah. Okay, so form a quadratic function based on situation and hence relate to the quadratic equation. Okay, so contoh kita ambil ni. Okay, Mr. Ganesan plans to make two different types of cards for mathematics club activities. The measurements of the cards are given as xx and then 2x plus 1 x. Okay, the bit is x. Form a quadratic expression for the total area of the two cards. Okay, macam mana kita nak form? Okay, so kita tengok kat sini ya, we look at this ya. So total area. So mula-mula bila nak buat total area, you kena tahu what shape are you dealing with. Okay, so you are dealing with a square. So this is a square. Meanwhile, this is a rectangle. Okay, so you have two shapes. How do you find area of a square? So area of a square, how do you find area of square, class? Anyone?
P times T.
Okay, panjang darah lebar ataupun panjang darah ni, ataupun in more specific sebab dia dah ada value x multiply x. So what is x multiply x?
X square.
Very good. Okay, so x square plus with, okay, so now we look at these two values here. Okay, in these two values, right? Okay, so you have the length is 2x plus 1. Okay, then you have the width x. Width ni lebar ya. Okay, so macam mana nak cari area? Tu sama kan, length darab dengan width, iaitu x multiply with 2x plus 1. Nah, ni you belajar auto expand bracket, you dah belajar form 3. So 2x square plus with x. So we're just going to put it here. Okay, so it will be 3x square plus x. So ini awak dah berjaya form a equation. Okay, 3x square plus, yes?
Y kena 2x square times x A plus x.
Oh, sebab kita nak cari area of this card, right? So area of card, this is a rectangle. So length darab dengan width kan? So 2x plus 1 darab dengan x. So bila dia darab, of course x darab 2x, kita akan dapat 2x kuasa 2. Lepas tu x ni pun kita darab. Kan ingat kan, whatever number outside of the bracket, you have to multiply with the numbers inside of the bracket. Kan? So this is why it becomes 2x squared. And this is why it becomes x. Okay, so when you add the sum of this and this, okay, so you know 2x square and x square je yang kita boleh tambah because it's the same term. So that's why we get 3x square plus x. Okay tak? Anyone else yang tak faham?
Yes.
Semua faham ya? Senang je, daripada soalan tu you memang ni. So total area sekarang dia nak suruh you form a quadratic equation in term of x. Okay, so the total area of the two cards is 114 cm square. Okay, so kalau dalam case ni, sekejap ya, dia dah kata 100 ni, so this is how you do it ya. Change the color pen, so you akan letak 3x square plus x equivalent to A tu apa? 114. So kalau macam ni kita tak boleh tinggalkan dia dalam betul ni sebab dia nak in term of x, so kita kena pindahkan dia plus x, yang ni pindah masuk sini minus 114 equivalent to 0. So this is your final answer. Easy kan class? Senang je.